Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into that final make or break step in the tech world, software deployment. This is all about taking amazing code from a developer's screen and putting it into the real world where it can actually do something. Right. I think a lot of us picture it as just, flipping a big switch. But it's way more complicated than that, and it's actually where a ton of projects end up falling apart. You are not kidding. And get this, according to some landmark research from the Standish Group, a wild 42% of corporate IT projects just get abandoned before they're even finished. Wow, 42%? That's nearly half. So, how do the successful projects manage to dodge that bullet? How do they actually make it to the finish line? Well, it all comes down to having a solid game plan. They follow a structured process called the Software Development Lifecycle. You might have heard it called the SDLC. And as you can see, deployment isn't just tacked on at the end. It's a huge part of that final critical implementation phase. It's literally the bridge that connects all that hard work to the actual customer. So before we even think about crossing that bridge, every project has to go through a final set of checks. And this isn't just about making sure the code works in a perfect lab setting, it's about making sure it's tough enough for the real world. Which brings us to the big one, right? After all that time, all that development, all the internal testing, how do you know for sure? What's the final gate you absolutely have to get through before you can go live? It's really a two-part answer. First, on the left there, you have release testing. That's when an internal team, but one that's independent from the developers, tests a complete version of the system. Their only goal? To hunt down any last-minute bugs. But the real heavy hitter is on the right. User acceptance testing, or UAT. This is where the customer, the actual end user, tests the system in their world, on their computers. Exactly. This is the moment of truth. They give the final go or no-go. It's their official sign-off saying, yep, this thing is ready, let's do it. Okay, so we got the green light. The customer said go. So now we just, upload the code and pop the champagne? Ha, if only it were that easy. It's better to think of it less like flipping a switch and more like moving into a new house. There are a few really important steps to get everything unpacked and set up just right. So this whole move-in day for your software breaks down into 3 big jobs. First up is installation. Think of this as getting the power and water turned on in your new place. You're just getting the basic hardware and software up and running. Okay, and data conversion? Let me guess. That's like moving all of your furniture and boxes from the old house into the new one. That is the perfect analogy. You've got to move all the old data over and make sure it fits and works in the new system's format. And then, finally, user training. The house is all set up, and now you have to teach everyone how to use the fancy new kitchen appliances. And that training part sounds really crucial. So we're talking about teaching people the real nuts and bolts of how to use this new system day to day.
Absolutely. Good training can make or break a launch. You have to cover the essentials people need to do their jobs. Everything from how to log in and enter data to running the reports they need and, really importantly, understanding what to do when an error pops up.
Okay, so the system's installed, the data's in place, and people know how to use it. Now comes maybe one of the biggest decisions of the whole project. How exactly do you make the switch? And believe me, this isn't a technical question, it's a huge strategic one. So you're saying there's more than one way to actually go live? Yep, you've basically got 3 main strategies, each with its own trade-off between risk and cost. You can go for the big bang or direct changeover, low cost but super high risk. If something goes wrong, you have no backup. Or you could do a parallel run. It's very low risk because you run both systems at once, but it's really expensive. And then there's the pilot run, a nice middle ground where you roll it out to a small group first to iron out any kinks. So let's say the launch went great. The system is live, users are trained, we can finally kick back, right? Our job here is done. You'd think so, but that's probably the biggest misconception in software. A successful deployment isn't the end. It's actually just the beginning of the system's real life. Right. Now the system enters what's called the maintenance phase. And this is the living, breathing part of the whole thing. It's where you fix bugs that you only find in the real world, you tune the system so it runs better, and you plan for all the new features you'll need down the road. Because, let's be honest, software is never really done. So it's not a project with an end date. It's more of a continuous cycle of improvement, which kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? And that is the perfect question to end on. In today's world of constant updates and changes, deployment really isn't a single event you can check off a list. It's an ongoing, absolutely vital process. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.